Welcome back to another episode of the pod with Hadyn Paszkiewicz. I have one of my good friends here, Raymond. Started out as one of my dad's friends. My dad and I work in the same industry, so we gradually became friends, lovers, what have you. But Raymond, man, I feel like you're someone who is pretty misunderstood. So, like, if you're watching the video and you're not listening to the podcast, you can see he's a very tatted up person. But something that I hope you guys will learn through this podcast is like what's on the outside is not like what you perceive. So do you think that you're someone who's like, do you ever feel like people stereotype you as far as like just from all the tattoos that you have?
Not so much more, not so much today as they used to. I started getting tattoos at a young age, and
How old were you when you got your first one?
16.
See, that was that kind of leads me into my next question. But what was your first tattoo?
It was Yosemite Sam.
Of all things.
Yeah, and I got it because if my parents found out, I didn't want them to get mad. They would be like, "Oh, let's go." I wanted a skull, but
See, I feel like it was. I mean, so you're 50.
mm,
So you were 16 in what year?
1990.
So 90s. Great time. So like whenever I got like my first tattoo is just this like little simple fucking Roman numerals on my collarbone for Zane passing away.
All right.
Dude, I tried to get it first when I turned 16, because Zane passed away when I was 15. No. Child mutilation laws is what they said. And then I have all these friends, some of them grew up in some not nice areas and they're tatted like in middle school.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what is going on? But anyways, so when I first got my first tattoo, they made me wait until I was 18, and I was shitting bricks. I remember I went with my dad. I sat down in a chair, and I was sweating, like, profusely. But that's kind of funny. That brings me into, like, another story, but I don't know if my dad's told you. He had that, like, jacked up Jesus tattoo. Did you ever see it?
Yeah,
on,
it looked
on
like
his
the
shoulder?
Zigzag Man.
Yeah, that's what everyone called it, the Zigzag Man. And dude, he told me he got it in this like trailer, like someone's trailer, and he was so geeked about it that he, was freaking out the whole time, passed out. And you know how they have those air vents on the bottom? Dude,
Yeah.
he like hit his head, cut his head open. But so we were talking about the 90s and age and stuff, but what, as you get older, what would you say is the main thing that has changed like in your life now that you're where you are now?
As far as what?
Anything. What is the most obvious change that you've noticed in life?
I would say gay people.
And what like them being more prominent or just
It's being more accepted nowadays. Like in the 90s, I had a lot of gay friends, and it wasn't accepted as it is now.
see, and that's something that I've thought about too, and that I can ask you about it. Do you think that there's more gay people now because it's more accepted, or do you think there's genuinely just more gay people now? Like, how do you think that works?
I think it's more gay people are. There's always been a ton of gay people, but
Yeah.
a lot of people were closeted because it wasn't accepted as it is now.
So you think just because it's always been okay, right? Like you can do whatever you want, right?
Right.
Like that's free will. You're born being able to do whatever you want.
Yeah.
So you think it's like now that it's quote unquote okay in society that's why we see it more?
Yeah,
Would
I
you-
think so, because a lot of the people that I knew and was friends with back in the early 90s, they lived here in Houston, where it was more acceptable, as opposed to where I grew up in Santa Fe.
Oh yeah.
It was not acceptable.
Oh, dude, it's still what's so crazy about those little small towns. So, like, if you don't know anything about Texas, obviously you do know Houston. Houston's huge. What, like, how many millions of people? A lot. 7?
2 point something million,
Yeah.
3 point something million.
Shitload, right?
Yeah.
So it's more metropolitan. More things are accepted easily, just like with any major metropolitan area. But once you get to like the little small towns where like Raymond's from, Santa Fe, what, couple 10 of thousand people, maybe.
That's 6,000 people.
Yeah, exactly. Or the little small town that I grew up in, Groves, Texas, which is the nearest major city would be Beaumont. It's still like that.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So
you're not going to change that.
No, I don't think you can. And a lot of people just get stuck in their ways, which is crazy. But yeah, I mean, what's cool about that is that, or interesting about that is that it's pretty similar for me too. Like when I was growing up, you had like maybe one or two gay people, especially whenever I was still living in Groves, because it was like they really didn't like you. And then now that we're older, they're everywhere, which there's no problem with it. The only thing that and this is with any group of people, like whether you're a white supremacist, you're someone that's just like a super open activist for whatever your thing is, I think that's when it's wrong, right? Like part of America is like equality. We're literally the biggest Houston in general is one of the largest melting pots in the world. Mm-hmm. We have some of the most diverse cultures ever. So that's why when they try and push their way as being the way, that's when it's a little weird.
It makes me not want, like, I still know a lot of gay people and they don't press the issue. They just live their life. But it's the extremists, like you were saying, that make it not fun. No. Or it doesn't make you want to push for them.
Yeah. Like, it's just like whenever someone tells a really bad joke and they can tell they're bombing, but then they like keep feeding into it. And everyone's like, dude, stop it. Yeah. But yeah, I agree. It definitely, it sucks. Anytime people, you said extremists, like anytime people become an extremist of anything, it's not cool, dude.
No.
Like I think the way that everything's supposed to be is just like this perfect little like moderation of everything. Like, hey, I'm tolerant to you, you be tolerant to me.
Right. And you don't have to go into any place and tell anybody what your sexuality is. It's nobody's business.
No, not at all.
You can, like, I was thinking about this the other day. You go into a restaurant, and I don't go around telling everybody that I'm heterosexual.
No.
Or anything.
Hey, man, I like women.
Yeah. And gay people, trans people, they don't have to go around saying that. Just live your life. Mm-hmm. Enjoy it.
Okay, so speaking of that, now, since you said they don't have to tell people these things, do you think that it should be, not necessarily law, but do you think that if someone's trans, like say there's this really hot chick, you're at the bar, whatever, hitting on them, whatever, they're trans, but you don't know it, do you think that they should be, or they should have to tell you?
I've had this conversation a lot, and
I love how this is how the podcast is started. No, this is great, dude. This is a good conversation.
I've had conversations with guys before, and say you meet a woman, they're trans, you don't know it, and you take a liking to them, and they take a liking to you, and say you go back over to the house, then you find out that they're trans, but you're into that person. Like, I don't know. I mean, I know I'm not gay or anything like that, but if every aspect of them is a woman except for they have a penis, well, guess what? I might be sucking penis that night. I don't know.
You might because you're attracted to them, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know. There's some people that would maybe get pretty upset about that. Like I, for one, I feel like I should know. Like, but if, like you said, if I like you and I enjoy your company, do I really need to know?
Yeah.
That it's such a.
It doesn't even matter. I mean, Andrew Tate, I saw that one video, and I'm probably going to misquote him, but he said you take Megan Fox or Hulk Hogan, and he goes, Megan Fox with a dick or Hulk Hogan with a pussy. Who are you fucking?
Megan Fox.
Exactly.
No hesitation.
Yeah. Hands down, dude. I'm jerking that motherfucker off. I don't care.
Yeah, dude. You got to do what you got to do. Yeah. And what's crazy about it is, like, I think the heart wants what the heart wants, right? So if you you know come up to someone and they look like a woman, they're made like a woman. As far as I'm concerned, that's probably a woman. You
Yeah.
know, and what's so crazy about it too is so like you have other cultures that do it way differently than us, right? Like America, with as far as becoming transgender, is so new, right? You have like Tongans, which are islanders. Like I want to say the wherever Tongans are from. If Tonga is a place, but Tongans, that's I know that's their what do you call that ethnicity? Their second son always becomes a woman. And I could be completely wrong about this, but I heard this not too long ago. And that's a common thing. And then you have like Thailand, where they have like the lady boys. Like that's like a super, super common thing. And it's commonly accepted, in culture. So I wonder if like the longer we have them around, like the more it becomes accepted. Or if it's always just going to be like small town vibe where people are like, I'm not really with it,
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of people are tolerant of it, and they should, because we live in America, obviously.
Yeah.
And we should be tolerant
Absolutely.
of people. As long as it's not forced and told that we have to accept, then it shouldn't be an issue.
Yeah, it's just like there's a quote from someone I can't remember. Will actually told me this. Shout out, Will. I know you're gonna watch this. And it was about religion, and they were saying how religion is like your like pornography preference. You don't have to tell me, dude. Like,
Exactly.
don't try and make me, like what you like. So I think the only thing that I have against any of that stuff, right? Whether it's being gay, trans, whatever you decide to do, don't get children involved. Like I think Dwayne Wade's son, which is now his daughter, was like under 13 years old when they underwent like sexual transitioning. I don't think that's cool. And there's a really high percentage, I don't know it off the top of my head, but you can look this up in your own free time, of people that went through gender transformation when they were under 18 that get to an older age in life and they regret it.
I've seen interviews with people.
Yeah,
of that.
and it's a really high percentage, right?
Right.
And so, you have think about men. Like the famous quote that everyone says is like a man's brain is not mature till he's 25, which I don't. I'm 25, almost 26. I don't think mine's mature.
Dude, I'm 50 years old,
Yeah.
and I'm still not mature.
Exactly.
I'm 17.
So, and I know for sure at 18, I was not making near as wise decision as I'm making now, right? So
No.
I think it's really crazy for parents to allow that, right? Same thing with like sexuality. Like even, I'm sure it was the same way when you were a kid. Like your dad's not like going around like, hey man, you're going to fuck chicks when you get older. Like that's,
No.
you're not,
No,
like,
they didn't.
So anytime that you're like forcing any sort of sexuality on children, not forcing might be the wrong word, but like
Allowing them to do whatever.
Yeah, I think that should be for adults. That's what
Well,
adults.
there's age restrictions on everything.
Yeah.
You hit a certain mark, and then you can do this. You can buy cigarettes at 18.
21 now. dude.
20, is it 21?
Yeah.
Oh.
Funny story about that. Not to cut off your thing, but so they switched it to 21 when like a year after I turned 18, and so if you were 18 before then, you're grandfathered in. Right, so we would like get cigarettes and like, Zins and Juul pods and stuff for all the young kids because we'd still do
Yeah.
it. Yeah, in high school. But yeah, continue with your.
Dude, now here's the deal. I'm older, and my brain doesn't work.
So you forgot what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I forgot what you're talking about too.
Exactly.
But
It was
but
unimportant.
it's okay. But what would you say? So back to the topic of being older. I had a few questions in mind that I wanted to ask you, but first one being like, what is it like to be friends with someone that's as young as me? Because you always see it on the internet. Like they're like, work will our friendship's not from work. I knew you before I even worked at
Yeah.
G&H, but jobs make you friends with like a 60-year-old man when you're 18, you know? So like what does that feel like? Like do you feel like you have I mean, because of the nature of our relationship, you probably don't have to hold back or anything, but in your head, what is that?
It doesn't feel any different than I would
just-
be talking with another 50-year-old
Yeah.
or something. That's one thing people seem to think is like, okay, I might know or have been through more than you because I am older, but that doesn't make me think of you any different. I mean, because everybody has their own different perspectives on life, and you might know something more than about something than I know about it.
Yeah.
So I try not to look at people's age and say, okay, I can't have a conversation
Yeah.
with you about I can have a conversation with you about anything.
For
I
sure.
mean, dude, you're an adult.
Of course, especially, now, like the more you get to know someone too, I think that
Yeah,
that
you get
helps. Yeah,
comfortable around them.
I have noticed though, like especially with younger kids, like at work, like you meet like a new deckhand or something like that, and they're like 18, 19, even.
There's a big difference on that.
Yeah. So what is that? Okay, let's reframe this. How do you think this new generation stacks up? Like, how do you feel about them?
It fucking sucks. They suck. They were a lot of the kids that come out to where we work. A lot of them. This is their first job. They've never worked at a Burger King or a Sonic or anything like that, or anything else. This is their first job, and it's a man's job.
Yeah.
And they come out and they want to play on their phones all the time. And that's one thing that I'm constantly having to get on to them about. It's like, hey, it's work hours, you know, or hey, it's time to go to bed. I'm a babysitter for these kids.
And
that gets
sucks.
old. But you know what? Hopefully by the time they're done with me and they move on, that they've gained something.
Yeah, I
from
know.
me.
I've always looked at myself, especially as a sponge, right? Like, first captain I ever worked with, Bruce. Bruce had been there since Jesus was driving the ships, right?
Yeah.
So I picked up a lot of things from him, right? Like first of all, he made me really hardworking because there was no other option. Like if you're not outside, you're getting, talked to, for lack of a better term. But everywhere I go, I try and pick up on things from someone, right? Mind you, some captains not as good as others. Some have different tendencies as others. Some are super relaxed. Some run a tight ship, But I've always said, if I would have came out here when I was 18, there's no way. I just definitely wasn't mature enough, especially to get yelled at, because our job can get frustrating, especially like you ran your whole watch and then they're, bullshitting us. And so when your deckhand wants to be a shithead, it's really easy to get irritated, which you're someone that's really good about, like, hey, I might yell at you for a second, but then you're going to think about it and go, hey, man, you're going to actually talk to him. But not everyone's like that. So I think y'all would have ran me off had I.
A lot of guys will get tired of a deckhand and call the office and say, hey, I want them off my boat. Mm-hmm. I'm not like that. I'm going to give you the opportunity to improve, and then if you keep screwing up, of course, I'm going to follow the proper actions and start disciplining you.
Yeah.
But if I start seeing improvement, I don't want that person moved off my boat, because I don't want to get them sent to another boat and they're like, oh, you came from Raymond's boat.
Yeah.
And he didn't do anything about it. Like, most people know me that if you came from my boat, you should know better.
Yeah. I mean, I like I said, I knew you even before, and like, my dad talked about how you ran things as far as whatever. And that was another good thing for me coming out there is, one, I knew a lot of you guys, like, before I even set foot on a boat. So I was kind of shielded a little bit, but at the same time, no one took it easy on me.
Yeah.
by any means. But
And they should.
no, never.
Like, I'm once my nephew gets his MMC in the mail, I'm gonna try to get him on out there. And I've already told him, and I said, as soon as you go out there, I'm gonna if whatever boat you go on, I'm gonna tell that captain or the engineer because he wants to go engine side, not to give you a break. You know,
No.
don't cut him.
It's the same thing as like, as much as I hated being on conventionals when I first started out there, it helped me learn how to be a deckhand, right? Like you just like with anything in life, I think you should go through some sort of like shit phase to kind of teach you whether or not you actually are cut out for it, and two, how to actually work on things. Because if you take a new hire and you plop them on your boat, which now isn't the newest, but at the time was the newest boat in the fleet, they're not going to learn anything. Your boat's brand new. There's nothing to do but maybe like the floors or like something. Like they're not going to learn how to deck, Same with like throwing lines. Like the reason I'm able to throw lines is because I had to time it, now you can just press these boats in and whatever. We've been talking about work way too long. But so now that, we talked about being 50, what would you say is like the biggest lesson you've learned, or like the most important lesson you've learned thus far? Like, has there been an aha moment at all?
I've had a ton of those. I can't count them off the top of my head, but
What's the most memorable that comes to mind?
as far like I've gotten way better with my money as opposed to when I was younger.
So what made you become way better with your money?
Getting closer to retirement.
Yeah.
I don't want to retire and just live off my pension.
Yeah.
I want to be able to travel.
Do things that retired people are supposed to do.
Yeah, not sit here and drink beer.
Yeah.
I want to be
Drink
able to
yourself.
travel and smoke weed.
Yeah, of course. That just like retired people are supposed
Yeah.
to do. Yeah. So have you left the country like at all?
No, I've never been outside the United States.
Dude, highly recommend. And I know you don't like flying, so that makes it a little
Well,
different.
Xanax makes it a lot
Yeah,
easier.
Xanax will make it perfectly fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, it's the one thing you do notice though, and there's a really funny like Shane Gillis clip, on someone's podcast, and he was like, the more you leave the US, the more you realize like, hey man, these other places suck, but it's really cool to see history, right? Like civilization started over there, not here. So all the old shit is just super fucking awesome to see. But man, so if you were able to leave the country right now, like I could just write you a fucking blank check to go to where are you going?
I would definitely go to Italy first.
What part of Italy? Like what intrigues you about it?
Well, I would like to do the whole tour of it. So you would
Top to
go,
bottom?
start up North Italy. You got the Alps, right? That's
Yeah, so you have Northern Italy, which is like Florence, Milan, all that like according to Sal, all the American parts of Italy.
yeah,
And then the more south you get, you start getting to like Naples, and you have like the Amalfi Coast over there on the west coast, and then you get down towards the boot. That's where you have, Rome, Sicily, which is the little off-broken part.
Right.
But yeah, that would be it. I want to, next time I go back, I definitely want to go to Northern Italy because we spent, our whole portion of it in that Rome, Naples area.
y'all didn't go to Pompeii.
So on the train, that's another thing too. I'll go off on a little tangent here. I wish we had more trains in the United States. Not like Metro that's right back here. I'm talking like
They got trains that go from
trains. Like you can get on a train in one country and end up in another country in a few hours, dude.
yeah.
That's fucking badass. Why do we not have? I mean, it definitely was more prominent when they were settling the United States. Like you had the Pony Express and shit, but and there still are like Amtrak and stuff like that, but I feel like more of that shit is like East Coast. Dude, if you had a train that went from Houston to Austin or even Houston to Dallas, that thing would crush. Otherwise, you're driving, you're spending all this money on gas to go take a 5-hour trip to Dallas or 4-hour trip to Dallas or, a 3-hour trip to Austin. Whereas you probably get on a train that goes 150 miles per hour and be there in half the fucking
No
time.
time.
Yeah.
Well, they do have that train, and it runs right down the road over there close to St. Arnold's. So that's less than a mile from my house. It goes, I think it runs from Chicago. It runs to the West Coast. It runs to the East Coast. And it runs down, I think, around New Orleans. Because the last time I was in New Orleans, I was sitting in a bar, and I was talking to a couple that had came from somewhere on the East Coast. And they had taken the Amtrak train down to New Orleans or somewhere in that vicinity and got a rental car and then came into New Orleans. I thought that was cool.
Dude, yeah, that's badass.
And
go ahead.
My dad, when he worked for Amoco, he would have to go to Chicago for business, and he would fly. Well, one time he decided he was going to take the train, and my dad, he still has that. I'm sure he still has the journal now, but he would always write it down, all his daily activities. And it was pretty cool. He said he had fun doing that. It was.
Yeah. That's something that so like speaking of that, that was one of the things that Bruce told me I should do, him being an old man, telling me like, hey, and you should like get you a journal, write down all the things you've done, during the day. And then like 20 years from now, you can look back and see what it was like being.
But you got an iPhone, right?
Yeah, but
and you get the daily journal thing that pops up. Type some shit up in there.
It's different. I'm real big on like tangible, like writing.
Handwriting.
Yeah, I'm way less inclined to type something on my phone than to actually write something in a.
Well, say use that as a tool, and then go back and fill out total detail in a journal
for sure
or something.
But yeah, so I got off on that tangent about trains, but the reason I said that is we took a train. So we landed in Rome, stayed in Rome for 4 days, and then we took a train all the way from Rome to Naples. But like as you're going past Naples going to where we were going to next, in between is Pompeii, which is really fucking cool. I have pictures of me. We stayed on the Amalfi Coast in this little bitty small town called Vico Equense, which is awesome. That's another thing that like a lot of people will say is if you're going to like Italy or something, like go to like the small towns, you know. Otherwise, it's just gonna be super crowded, bunch of Americans. Like you're not gonna get the like Italy experience. And I can confidently say that little small town was the coolest portion of the trip. Like,
so you did go to Pompeii.
Well, we went past it. We didn't actually go into Pompeii. Like one of the train stops is at Pompeii, so you can kind of like, look out your window and see it. But I have a picture of me at the beach, and you can see Mount Vesuvius, which is the volcano that destroyed Pompeii.
Right.
Dude, speaking of Pompeii, this is a really funny thing. I don't know if you've ever seen like the meme, because you know how the volcano, like the volcanic ash and all that stuff mummified all those people. Mm-hmm. Well, there was one that looked like a dude jerking off, and they basically proved it wrong, and it made me so upset.
I know.
Like, damn, because imagine if that dude like actually died while rubbing one out.
Yeah.
Because that's what everyone like says they're gonna do. Like, you'll see those memes, and it'll be like, your plane's about to crash. What are you doing? And he's like, I'm rubbing the last one out. Let me reset this. So mad. Like, just imagine being that guy. And I'm just gonna tell myself that that's what happened. You know?
I think so. I mean, like, I've always thought about that. And one thing I've always been scared about, and I think I've told your dad this too, is like, I would hate to be masturbating and have a heart attack and die. And the coroners and everybody comes over my house, and there I am.
Dude,
got my dick in my hand.
Okay, how many people do you think that have died like that?
Oh, tons.
Has to be tons.
Yeah.
Has to be tons.
I will tell you this story.
Okay.
My ex-wife ain't watching, so her uncle passed away. He was in his 50s. He worked at G&H for a little while.
Really?
Yeah, as a deckhand.
Don't say his name though.
No. But she had came over to the house one day. We were, her and my daughter, we were all watching the Texans that day, and I invited her over. This is well after we've been divorced for 20-something years. But she came over, and I was like, "What, man, how'd your uncle pass away?" And she started giggling.
Oh no.
Well, he was at his house with his other daughter, and she left. Well, he popped open his laptop, and he was getting set up, and he might have started rubbing one out.
Yeah.
And then fucking had a heart attack. And she came back home.
So it happened to him.
Yeah. And I was like,
shouldn't laugh. But...
wow. No, I mean, like, dude, he went out the way he wanted to go out, right?
Yeah, dude.
I was like, fuck, man.
Yeah. So,
but I don't want that to happen to me.
Yeah. Because then we're just going to make fun of you until we die.
Exactly. You know Raymond? He was jerking off.
Raymond, you're like at the funeral, like, how Raymond? Everyone's whispering in the pews and stuff. They're like, how Raymond died?
Yeah. It's like, I've even talked about, like, I threw all my toys away.
Yeah.
And, but, you know, like Bobby, he said, dude, he used to have a key to my old house. He doesn't have one to here, but I'll be like, bro, if I ever pass away, just come in here quick and throw all that shit away.
And delete my history on my phone.
Yeah. That'd be
So,
fucked up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you hear about, it's funny, you never hear about someone dying while masturbating, but you hear about a lot of people, like, you know, having sex and dying, like, especially older dudes. Dude, can you imagine being...
Why did you point at me when you said, especially older dudes?
No, I'm saying, like, I don't know.
I'm fucking
Anyways, but imagine being that one chick that like bags this old rich dude, and you know, you doing your business, he dies, you get all his bread, but at the same time, this dude just died while fucking you. So how do you think you would feel, dude?
I feel pretty good.
Conversely, what if you had an old sugar mama, and you're doing your thing, she dies? How do you feel about that?
I feel sad, but also I'd rob her house of all her jewelry.
Well, I mean, like, what if you're like, what if she's not your sugar mama? Like, you're like engaged to her, just like, dude, someone close to Amanda's family, old man, gets married to a younger chick, and now she's like terrible to him. So like, imagine you're that chick, that dude dies, and you just get all that money. Which, like, it's like one of those moral compass things, you know, like...
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I think about that now, too, is that, you know, the older I get, I'm never getting married again, ever.
Fair enough.
Never getting in a relationship again.
It's a huge commitment, especially... But I think if you were in your 40s, maybe... You know, but like once you cross 50, dude, you get like we were talking about earlier, you have retirement to think about. There's so much more that if you didn't have someone that was already in your life, like say that was like your girlfriend or something, whatever. I think after 50, it's not worth it, dude.
It's not. And you know, I don't even really like people at my house anymore. I mean, my friends, fine.
Yeah.
But like when women come over,
how often is that?
Every now and again.
I'm fucking with you.
But and I'm saying every now and every great once in a while.
Yeah.
But like, hey, if you want to crash, cool.
There's a guest.
But you know what? When that sun starts peeking up over the clouds, it's time to go home.
Yeah, I got shit to do.
Yeah.
So I was actually thinking about this on the ride because I kind of had. With any guest, right? And I know I just cut you off, but I had to get this out of my head while it's
You
still
always
here.
cut me off. So.
It's okay. It's okay.
I've got to say this, but we're going to go back to it. But
yeah. So I was just like with any guest, I kind of get, I don't know if anxiety is the right word, but as I'm going to the podcast or waiting for them to come over or whatever, like I'm always like, fuck, what am I gonna talk about? Thankfully, we have things that we can relate on. But something I was thinking about was like, what's a day in the life of Raymond? Like if you're not hanging out with Pat, what are you doing?
If I'm not, cleaning or anything like that, normally I've got my stereo on and I'm drinking beer
All day.
and pretty much.
You don't like watch like TV shows or like?
Yeah, I'll put on YouTube, and Pat got me on this. They do walking tours of different cities,
Oh shit.
Europe, wherever.
That's
And,
something you'll see in
You can put on your music, put the TV on mute, and just sit there and watch that, or I'm listening to music 99% of my day.
Same. That's one of the things that I've thought about a lot is if I was to ever go deaf,
It would suck.
it would suck
Yeah.
really bad. Like music is so important. Like it can literally change a bad day into a good day.
Yeah.
It can make you feel like all these different emotions, especially if you listen to good music. I get in this argument with the dudes that I grew up with all the time because there's maybe 3 of them that I can like send good music. The rest listen to garbage, dude.
Oh, yeah.
Like I could send them a Zeppelin song and they're gonna be like, that's fucking trash. Like, what is this? Or they won't even listen to it.
Then you unfriend them.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. I'm like,
I don't want to talk to you
I don't
anymore.
even know why I'm homies with you guys. But that's part of the reason Will and I are such good, or one of the reasons Will and I are such good friends. Dude, we'll just pinball music off of each other all the time.
Yeah.
Nothing is better. I mean, there's probably some better things, but there's few greater things than finding like a new song, especially shit that's like from the 60s, 70s, 80s. That is peak music. That 30-year period. And I think it's because they actually had to make it. You know, like now they didn't have like loop pedals and shit back then. Like they like
Auto tune, all
yeah,
that.
like these dudes were fucking badass.
Yeah.
Speaking of auto tune, we were talking about Chili Peppers earlier. You know, Anthony Kiedis was like a god awful singer.
He still is.
Yeah, and they had to, like when they were first making music, they had to heavily. It's called pitch correct. Mm-hmm. So they would literally they'd record a song and then they would just like alter his voice to make it sound.
I mean,
good.
they make great music. I've been a Chili Peppers fan since Mofo Uplift Party Plan. That was, and then whenever their guitarist passed away, Hillel Slovic, I think I said his name. Hopefully I said his name right. Then they hired John, and then they came out with Mother's Milk. That was their first actual album that I thought, wow, that was excellent.
Really good.
Yeah, really good. That was before Blood Sugar Sex Magic.
Let me see. I don't know the album covers off the top of my mind. So while we're on the topic of music, if you had to like pick it's like say you're in the UFC, some fucking crazy universe that Raymond's a UFC fighter.
Yeah.
What would be your walkout song, or even if you're playing baseball?
Damn. It's a good
Dude, Schism by Tool. That like intro,
yeah, Schism's good.
dude.
But all right, if you said one of my favorite songs is by A$AP Rocky, and I've said it a million times, is LSD.
That's a great song.
I love that song. Or Sicko Mode by Travis Scott.
Yep.
Great.
That's one of the things that I think has gotten better. Like that sort of like synthy, because LSD has that synthy kind of, music, especially Sicko Mode does too. That wow,
Yeah.
That's something that I think has gotten better with time. But, earlier stuff is just great. Yeah.
I mean,
Blood
you
Sugar
can see
Sex.
my record album.
Yeah,
my-
dude. If y'all could see over here, there's easily over 100.
Oh, that's like 450 albums right
Yeah.
there.
Okay. I've talked to Will about this too. Do you think, are you one of those people that think music sounds better on vinyl, or do you just like to have vinyl?
I like to have vinyl. Uh, it depends on what you like. Like, so I grew up in the era. First, when I was a kid, you had albums. Then there was also 8 tracks.
Yeah, weren't they like, wasn't there like a smaller, like vinyl looking thing?
Well, yeah, they got 45s.
Yeah.
They had different sized albums. So like you would have like singles on the 45s. Then you'd have the EPs, which is extended play, and then now you got LPs. So you had different records. All those are LPs.
Yeah.
Then you had the 8 tracks, which were big cassettes.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you a funny story that
Let's
there
hear
was in my neighborhood in Lamarck, when I was growing up, me and my buddies were outside playing. There was a AC/DC 8-track just laying on the ground in somebody's yard.
Really?
Yeah, and I picked it up. And it had dog shit sitting on the backside of it.
They like poop dollared you with an 8-track.
Yeah. Yeah.
No way. They knew, they were like,
I didn't know if some cocksucker just said, "Ooh, look, there's a pile of dog shit," and he put it on there, or
100%.
yeah. But anyways, I had dog shit on my hand.
But you cleaned it and then kept the fucking.
No, I didn't. I threw it down.
Damn.
And then I was retching the whole way to wash my hands with the water hose. But
damn, that's funny.
you know, for the longest time though, you know, CDs came out, and I was still just into tapes. I had tapes. I had those big carriers filled with cassette tapes, and then eventually I went to CDs.
So what'd you do with them? You just chunked them or sold
They're
them?
gone. Like I mean, dude, back in the day, I was like, you know, drug addict, and I'd sell that shit.
Yeah.
And
So were you one of those guys that had you had the fucking CD like binder?
Oh,
know?
yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
dude, I that just like scratches an itch for me. Like I remember riding around with my Uncle Adam or any of my dad's friends, and they always wedge it in between the fucking CD. Like,
yeah,
what do you want to listen to? You know?
yeah,
That was such a cool memory. But you know, you're talking about that, and I think now is more important than ever to get albums or buy vinyl or buy even the CD, because it's so easy with everything being digitized for them to just yank it away from you.
yeah.
They can't take that.
No, they can't. And
You
you
know?
know, I've got a tape player, got my receiver, I have my turntable. If I feel like listening to a good record, I'll put it on my turntable and sit there and listen to it. Then, you know, you got to listen to that first side, and you're like, fuck, now I got to go flip it over. But also, I got my Bluetooth hooked up to my receiver, so a lot of times I'll just play my phone through my receiver.
Yeah.
And that way I can just continuously listen to music. And I like that. I like that.
I don't like silence too much, like
No.
at all. And so, okay, while we're still on the topic of music, what are you listening to right now? Like, what do you find yourself listening to?
Man, okay, of course I'm always listening to Tool at least once a day. That's my favorite group. But I love Billie Eilish.
Really?
I've got all her albums on vinyl. Paramore,
Dude, Paramore rips.
dude, their rendition of "Burning Down the House" from the Talking Heads
I don't think I've ever listened.
is amazing.
It's good?
It is.
I don't think I've ever even listened to the Talking Heads.
Oh man,
Dude, you gotta put me. I'm always like I'm such a nomadic music listener. Like I literally listen to everything
yeah,
except like dude, I like older rap. You know, like even early 2000s, early 2010s. But dude, now shit just sucks so bad. Like I can't listen to it. But anyways, that's like, dude. Anytime you're like you hear a song or something, like dude, you showed me the fucking was it Schism? The what was it? Elephant Revival.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So like, dude, anytime you're like, oh, that's fucking cool.
That's another thing I like doing is listening to other artists. Like you find them on YouTube and cover songs that people do of other groups, like say like Tool or whatever. And that's one thing I like looking up on YouTube is people doing acoustic versions of Tool songs.
Yeah.
And there's this one chick, I forget her name at the moment, and she's not the greatest singer, but like she does a version of Stinkfist, and
I think I might have seen this.
she does. I'm like, you can hear the words clearly as opposed to Maynard singing them, and I like it. I like it, and she does Sober. She does a couple other Tool songs, but that's what I like doing is looking at other people's versions of songs from a group, and it just gives you a different perspective.
Yeah.
And I like that. Even though the original is great, but hearing other people's versions, and they took the time to learn it on the guitar and sing it in their own version. It's beautiful.
I think what's so cool about that is you get to, so like at its core, like music is art, right? Like it's an expression of either you or me or whoever the artist is. So I think it's really cool, like you said, to see how someone interprets a song. Like, cause they can, a good one, like I know you probably don't listen to country music, but Jason Isbell, great guitarist, right? Country music artist, not the best voice ever. Morgan Wallen, I'm sure you've heard of Morgan Wallen. At least he's
I've heard of
super, super big time right now. He takes one of Jason Isbell's songs called "Cover Me Up" and does numbers with it, and so it's really cool to see someone's rendition of something else like that. It's fucking awesome.
Well, then you like Tyler Childers.
Yeah.
Tyler Childers.
Yeah.
I've got all his albums.
Really?
Yeah.
House Fire is really good. Dude, the thing about Tyler Childers is he has a lot of unreleased music. Like there's a song by Tyler Childers called Oneida. Dude, badass fucking song. He's really talented. But with him, just like with most artists, once they get sober, they suck, dude. Like his new stuff is nowhere near as good as his stuff when he was on heroin.
Yeah. Well, I haven't. The only album I haven't bought is his newest album.
In Your Love.
Yes, I don't own that one.
Yeah, it's just him with like a horse or whatever.
Like Townes Van Zandt.
Dude, speaking of Townes Van Zandt, I never knew Townes Van Zandt. And that dude wrote like
Poncho and Lefty.
Dude, he wrote so many people's like hit songs.
Yeah.
And also he is just great. Like what's Waiting Around to Die? That song is fucking badass.
He's got a lot of good music.
Yeah.
And he was a drug. I know he was an alcoholic.
Dude, so I learned this. I think Will told me, either Will or Seth, they're both really big Townes Van Zandt fans. The biggest Townes Van Zandt fan is Theron. I think Theron named his son after Townes Van Zandt.
Really?
Or something like that. But they were telling me about him. Dude, this dude sold the rights to one of his most famous songs for like an 8-ball of coke, dude. Yeah. So like whoever has it is just making fucking.
There's a documentary out with him. I forget the name of it. I watched it. It was interesting. I can't even remember. But I watched it. It was good.
I guess he used to play at some bar in Galveston like all the time back in the 80s or 90s, whatever.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Look at Willie Nelson. Willie Nelson has a lot of great hits. He wrote a lot of great songs. He's not the greatest singer, but he has some great music.
Yeah.
And my mom is a big Willie Nelson fan, and that's why I love him. Is because I grew up listening to all that.
That fucker's never gonna die, dude.
Man, I hope not.
Dude, he's 90 plus, still performing, and he's still coherent. Like,
Yeah.
dude, that's.
Marijuana.
You think that's the key?
100%.
That's the same thing. I remember that you bring that up. That I was listening to a podcast with Tommy Chong and Joe Rogan. This was years ago, and he was like, marijuana, man, and pussy. Like he's like, that's the two things that bring you longevity, because they're old as fucking dirt too.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, man, that's
I grew up with my dad always. He had I forget what album. It was on a vinyl. It was one of their comedy shows, and him and my mom had went and watched them in concert or whatever. Parents were totally against marijuana, but they loved their comedy. So I grew up watching Up in Smoke and Nice Dreams?
I think, yeah, it is Nice Dreams.
Yeah, Nice Dreams, because they were an ice cream truck and
Yeah,
whatever.
the ice cream truck that's completely made out of weed, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, dude, I grew up watching all that stuff, and they were funny, and they're still alive. They're like, Tommy Chong is probably in his
80s.
He's in his 80s.
Yeah.
Cheech Marion, he's probably late 70s or so.
I will say, Tommy Chong looks a whole lot better than Cheech. Cheech looks almost dead. Like, he looks like shit.
Yeah.
Tommy Chong looks great. Dude, who's that? What president is it that's still alive? Jimmy Carter.
Yeah.
Dude, have you seen what Jimmy Carter looks like now? Oh,
not too long ago.
God, we were talking about him on the boat not too long ago, because when you think of Jimmy Carter, I'm like, dude, no way that dude's still alive. And then Will and Seth were telling me, like, no, dude, he's alive. That dude is, the term that we like to use is fully geezed. Like, you call a geezer an old person.
Yeah.
Dude, he's geezed to the max. He looks dead.
Yeah.
And yet he's still alive. And then, dude, they like, at the DNC, or there was some Democratic thing, they like wheeled him up there to like let him.
Yeah, who the fuck was that they had in a wheelchair and you couldn't even understand what he was saying?
Oh, I don't know who that was, but yeah, that was very silly.
Yeah,
but
Democrats.
Same thing. Yeah, same thing with fucking Jimmy Carter, dude. He's not even coherent. He's been on hospice for 2 years. I don't know what drugs that they have for the elites. But I want some. Dude.
Oh yeah,
dude, they can literally keep those people alive forever.
Yeah.
But dude, I talk about conspiracy theories and shit like that on the podcast way too much, so I'll fucking veer away from that shit. But so I don't know if you're like a super big movie guy, but you did say you like other people's renditions of songs. How do you feel when, like, say a movie that you used to watch as a kid, 80s, 90s, whatever, they like remake it now? How do you feel about that?
All right, so as an example, they redid The Evil Dead. Have you ever watched it?
Those are Sam Raimi movies, right?
Exactly. Mm-hmm. So they made
The
Evil Dead.
I love movies.
I like Sam's movies because they were, his first ones especially, like, they were B movies. But they were good. Mm-hmm. And then they made a remake of Evil Dead, and I liked it.
I think, yeah, they had an Evil Dead that came out either last year or the year before. I think it was last year. Dude, those movies were fucking scary, dude.
Yeah, but that was like that wasn't a remake of the original. They made an original or a remake of the original, mm-hmm. But it was back in 2014, I think, or something. Mm-hmm. It was okay. It was good.
You know, I do remember that because we used to have these really big movie nights, which some of my favorite memories, dude. Like, we have I'm sure you saw at my wedding. Like, I have a really big friend group, and
I didn't go to your wedding. I just went to the reception.
Oh, okay, it's the same thing. But so we would like periodically pick, different friends' houses, and like all of us would be over there, and we pick a movie. Usually it's a scary movie because it's freaking middle school. I hate scary movies, dude. That's the only genre that like I can't get behind. Like, yeah. I'm a pussy when it comes to scary movies. But speaking of that, I can remember being at my friend Jane's house. She's one of my really good friends. She was at the wedding too. And we watched that remake. Dude, those movies are fucking scary. Like any of those like borderline paranormal shit like that, can't fuck with it, dude.
Yeah.
A funny ass story. So I think it was, I don't know if it's the Conjuring universe or whatever, but there was one of those movies called like The Devil in Me. And it came out when Amanda and I were still living in our first apartment. And dude, she loves scary movies. So I was like, I'll watch a scary movie with you. Dude, and then at the end of it, so the whole movie's about this kid getting possessed, right? At the end of it, they play the actual like audio files of the kid who was possessed. Dude, I don't think I slept for like a long fucking time after that.
All right, so that I do know, and it might be the same one. It was a chick that played in Dexter. She was the sister of Dexter. I think her name's Jennifer Carpenter.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, she was in a movie, and I can't remember the name of the movie, but she was possessed.
Oh shit, we're almost out of time. We'll do another like 20 minutes or something.
Okay, you want to stop?
No, we're not stopping.
Okay.
I was just making sure we don't get.
I'm
cut
having
off.
fun.
Let's keep it going, dude.
Don't be a fag.
No, I'm not a fag.
All right.
We'll probably have to bleep that, but it's all good. Okay.
But
Jennifer Carpenter.
yeah, Jennifer Carpenter was in this movie. I can't remember the name of it, and it was a pretty good scary movie.
Yeah.
But it was based off of an exorcism. Oh, Exorcism of Emily Rose. And that was taken from, I think, maybe it was a German girl.
Like mental institute.
No, she wasn't even in a mental institution. She was at home and she was possessed. And you can even look it up online. Like, she wasn't eating or anything. She had dark circles on her eyes, and they have recordings of her speaking this weird dialect.
Yeah.
And it was like, holy fuck. Now, was she mental or was she actually possessed? Who knows?
Yeah.
It depends on what you believe.
Hold that thought real quick. I'm going to reset the camera. All right. So we were talking about like mental institute, possessions, whatever. There's some people that think some of these people that are in mental institutions are actually possessed, right? Which I think is a pretty compelling theory because look at how they act. Like you have a different personality. It's like textbook, possessions. Anyways, that's anytime there's a scary movie that has like based on true story, that fucks me up. And then on top of that, when they like give you the receipts too, dude, yeah. And then Amanda's just fucking.
Well, when they say in a movie based on a true story, a person driving a car in that movie could be the part that's based on a true story.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not actually based on it. It's strange that say like that series Fargo or even the movie Fargo. Mm-hmm. At the beginning it says based on a true story. Mm-hmm. Somewhere in America, parts of that movie has happened.
Fargo's like it's like a drug thing, right? Or what is? Remind me.
So William H. Macy is I think he's a car dealership salesman, and he wants his wife killed. And he pays these guys, and everything just goes crazy in the whole thing. Mm-hmm. It just goes all out of whack. Well, now they got the series, which is Fargo, and it's like an analog or an anthology.
Yeah.
And so each series is different than the other. But even in that series, it says based on a true story. But it's excellent TV.
Absolutely.
It's a great series.
So you're back to what we started this with. So you're like for it when they make a new rendition of a movie.
If it's good.
Yeah, because sometimes they'll. they'll fuck it up.
Oh yeah.
Like the original Roadhouse, mind you, shitty movie, but it's a cult classic. The new Roadhouse, god awful. And I'm someone who will like, I'll give a movie the benefit of the doubt, dude. Like I'll watch a shitty movie just to say I watched it. Dude, that one I was like, okay, this is this is actually fucking bad.
It
dude.
was bad.
It was really bad.
You know, and when Roadhouse came out, what was it? 88, 89? I forget when.
Might have been 86. It's either 86 or 89 if I'm not dyslexic. So
Yeah. I'm dyslexic. So
well, one of us is right.
yeah. But it was a good movie when it came out.
Yeah.
Now, granted, back in the day, you know, for example, we're talking about music. When I was in high school, junior high, I was a headbanger.
Yeah.
But you know what? On the side, I listened to not NSYNC. Fuck. What was the other group? New Kids on the Block.
Yep.
And shit. I didn't go around wearing New Kids on the Block, but I liked their music.
Yeah.
But dude, I was straight through and through a headbanger. I loved metal.
Yeah.
And I also loved rap. But I also couldn't go around saying that I loved rap because one, I was growing up in the country.
Yep.
And but anyways, Dirty Dancing is one of my favorite fucking movies.
Really?
Oh yeah, dude. I
think
still got it on DVD.
I think
I
I
don't
watched-
have a DVD player anymore, but
But I got Dirty
dude, if I
Dancing.
turn on the TV and Dirty Dancing is playing,
You're watching that
oh,
movie.
I'm watching Patrick Swayze raise Jennifer Grey up in the air.
Yeah.
And they're like, I got tears in my eyes.
Yeah.
bro.
Dude, so did you know he would before he got or became a movie star, he was just a dancer.
Yeah, he grew up right up the road.
Really? He's
Yeah.
from Texas?
Yeah.
Damn.
Dude, his mom owned a dance studio right for, you know where, shit. Oak Forest? Is it? No, Garden Oaks. I'm sorry, Garden Oaks. It's just
That's
right
not,
there.
Not far at all.
above 610.
Yeah.
His mom owned a dance studio. That's where he went to school. He went to Waltrip High School, which is right there.
Damn, I didn't know Patrick Swayze was a
Yeah.
Texan, dude.
Yeah, straight up, man. He grew up there, and he learned to dance from his mom. He met his wife through the dance studio.
Isn't it so crazy how you have these like great talents and then they die of cancer, dude?
I know.
That is, I forget what cancer he has, but I looked
Pancreatic.
it up. Yeah, I looked it up the other day and I was like, damn, dude. I thought he was like James Dean, where he like died like young, but I was like, no, he
Nah,
died.
he was in his 50s, and he was
Yeah.
in some great movies like The Outsiders. I don't know if you ever read the book. Back in high school, that was one of our assignments, was reading The Outsiders.
Dude, I caught the tail end of like all the old good books. You know, like Hatchet, Animal Farm. What's the one that fucking Boo Radley? Dude, what's the book that everyone reads but now it's banned because of the N word in there? Anyways, can't think of it. To Kill a Mockingbird.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But dude, now like they don't read those books anymore.
Nobody reads nothing anymore. I'll tell you this. I got away from reading back since I was a kid, I always read. And even when I started on the tugboats, we had trash TV. It was the
Yeah.
analog. You had to dial it in. And you'd be at certain docks, and you couldn't get TV for nothing. So I always read. One of my favorite authors is Cormac McCarthy.
What does he write?
He wrote The Road. He wrote All the Pretty Horses.
So like Western.
No.
No, not Western. What is
No Country for Old Men.
he wrote that?
Yeah. And his writing style is different than a lot of people. I did buy his newest, but he just passed away, I think, a year or two ago. But I bought his newest book. I still hadn't read it. It's on my phone.
Dude, I love books. But like right now, since I'm studying, like I have a lapse in reading And dude, I just keep buying books that like I'm gonna read as soon as I get my license. But dude, yeah, I remember speaking of like y'all reading books and shit on the boat, like back in the olden times. First time I ever worked on the Judge, I was like, you when you get to a new boat, you're like looking in your lockers and everything, making sure people didn't leave junk, And I like slid out the bottom drawer of like right below your rack. And dude, this was like full of books, like old novels. I was like, damn, whoever worked on this boat for a long time definitely stacked up some hours reading.
Oh yeah.
Like,
well, think about when I first started out there.
When did you
98. 98 is when I started out there. You go on a boat and you pull out that drawer. There would be magazines in there.
Yeah, there wouldn't be
of the jerk off material.
Yeah, and you gotta spread them.
Yeah, it's like, ooh. Okay, I'm jerking off to this.
Yeah, sweet. So, I know we're getting back on the boat stuff, but I was talking to my dad about this the other day, and I told him the exact same thing. I was like, dude, y'all would have ran me off. Because we talk after every watch, we call each other, how was your watch? Blah, blah, blah. We just shoot the shit. And he was like, oh, dude, it was way more relaxed back then. Because I think he might have started in 95.
Yeah.
Something like that. But was it more lax? Or, because, dude, I don't know if it's just these old salty bastards that are like, oh, man, back in when I was starting out here, man, we fucking actually worked, blah, blah, blah. And then you have some, like my dad just said. Well, he didn't say that, they didn't work, but he was like, he was way more relaxed. Well, how different is it now compared to then?
It was relaxed as far as you could. Man, I don't know. I don't know how to explain it, but there's more rules to follow nowadays, which is fine. I mean, the company has to keep up with the times, and G&H has always been one to keep up, stay ahead of the curve.
Yeah,
and I like that about them. But nowadays, this time and age, you can't have pornographic material on the boat just sitting around or all that. But back then, you could. I mean, it was just something that happened.
From what I can tell, this was like the misfits industry, like back in the day. Like tugboaters were some rugged. And I don't know if we still are rugged, and I'm just so immersed in it that like I just see everyone as like, oh, I mean, like that's how we are, or if it has like softened up a little bit. Like, is that the case, or?
Yeah, it's softened up because we have to accommodate to people's feelings nowadays.
Yeah,
I have to watch what I say to an individual when they make me mad.
Yeah.
And it's tough.
It
is so tough.
Yeah, especially now with like QR code and stuff like that. But man.
I asked a guy one time.
Oh, dude, not to stop your story, but you made me think of this. I saw you walk into your boat, and I guess you were too far away, because especially with our intakes, you can't like.
No, it's loud.
You can't hear anything. I go, hey, faggot. you didn't even look. And then after I said it, I was like, ooh, I have bones on top.
Oh, dude, I did that to Pat the other day. He's out walking the dock, and I was washing the dish in the sink, and I saw him walking by, and I threw the galley door open.
Yeah.
And I was like, hey, there ain't no faggots walking by the boat. And I was like, oh shit, I shouldn't have said that.
Yeah.
I mean, when I say faggot, I'm not thinking of a gay person.
No, we're literally just.
I'm just saying some shit.
Yeah.
And I was like,
it's like, dude,
damn it.
Yeah.
So I gotta watch what I say, and I never. That's one thing I never want to do is offend somebody.
Yes, because I mean I know for sure with you, like I have to. Oh, dude. Prime example. Me and Charles walking past your boat, and you go, "Hey man, get the fuck out of here!" And Charles got scared, and I'm like, dude, he's fucking right. So like
he started to walk away,
yeah,
man.
I'm like, dude, that's Raymond. Like, chill, he's joking, you know? So yeah, I'm the same way. Like I never want, because I think I'm a pretty nice guy. And like, and I don't half the time when I'm messing with you, and I get mixed up on this all the time because like I forget to turn my tugboat off, you know, especially around Amanda, and I'll like make the same sort of jokes with her that I'm making with the dudes,
Yeah.
and they don't go over the same way, you
No.
know. And so just like you said, like I never want to offend anyone, you know. More than half the time, I'm just fucking with you, and if I'm not just fucking with you, you'll probably know.
Yeah.
So-
If I'm not fucking with you, I'm being serious, and there's none of that language
Mm-hmm.
coming out. And I've always had an issue. Nowadays, everybody gets offended
Mm-hmm.
if you use a certain word around them. And it's just because that's the way I grew up, and I don't mean it in a certain way that you're taking it.
Yeah, like gay. Like I'm
Yeah.
always gonna, especially gay, retard, and faggot have come back in a major way, and I'm not gonna be in public, you know, calling people faggots. But like if I'm with my boys,
Yeah.
I'm gonna call the homies a
Yeah.
faggot, or like you're not saying it in the sense of it, like in a derogatory way. Like I'm not calling you a fucking homosexual, you know. Like I'm
Yeah.
calling you a faggot. Like I'm just messing with you. You
Exactly. And it's like the word retard.
Know?
I don't mean it because I would never be disrespectful for somebody with mental challenges or
Dude, I'm too scared of karma, dude. Like
Yeah.
if I was like actually making fun of a special needs person, like God forbid.
and I would never do that.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
because
messed up. They can't. They
I went to
can't
school
fight,
with them.
They
I
can't
mean,
fight back. Like
no.
that's like I like to pick. I pick on my friends, right? That's a healthy friend relationship, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like everyone should throw jabs at their homies. If you can't, you don't have a good relationship. Prime example of this, one of our friends so we have that big group of guys that we grew up with, and then there's been a few outsiders from like college and stuff that like kind of trickled in. One of them is my buddy Kyle. When he like literally the first day we put him in the group message, we ate him alive, and he was college roommates with some of my other boys. He was like, dude, I don't know how I would have survived high school. He's like, this is how you guys are all the time. Yeah, so I think it's healthy, you know.
It is. It
to
builds
make fun of you.
character.
Yeah.
I mean, you've been around me and obviously your dad and Pat and
Yeah.
Bobby. We give each other a hard time, man. Like
You have to.
the past few days, man, I gave Bobby a hard time every time. Like it's just we're friends.
Yeah.
We give each other a hard time, and that's life. But then it doesn't carry out past that.
No.
Like
dude.
I don't make people with mental disabilities. I don't make fun of that. I mean,
Yeah,
it's nothing to make fun of.
No, I mean they didn't choose to be like
No,
that.
they are who they are.
Yeah.
But when I say stuff like that, I'm not thinking of that. Just like if I call somebody a faggot, I'm not calling them a gay or
No.
anything like that.
Yeah, because I'm not.
Like-
Like you're gay, so that's wrong. It's just like you use it almost in the sense of like, oh man, like it's like what is like, ah, dude, that was gay. Like
Yeah.
like not cool, you know. But it's not calling gay people not cool. It's just being like that's just the term you use. A perfect example of
It
this
is.
is like Houstonians call everything a hoe. Like, oh, that hoe over there. Like, oh, grab that hoe. You know, like you
Yeah.
use the word hoe as it.
And I know a lot of hoes.
Yeah.
I do know a lot of hoes.
Yeah, but you don't call a hoe.
Eh,
Not to her face.
yeah, I think I have a couple of times.
Shit. Well, I know we're having a freaking great conversation, but that battery is about to die. I switched it, and that one only had a half battery. So we're gonna go ahead and wrap this up. And the way that I like to wrap it up is one, I want to say thank you for being a guest on the podcast. That's fucking awesome. We had a great
I
conversation.
appreciate it.
And two, the question I ask every single guest, every single time, whether we do 1 podcast, 5 podcasts, 100 podcasts, is if you had to leave someone with a message, whoever's listening, it can be funny, sad, happy, mad, whatever. What do you leave them with?
I will say that I love all my friends, and I'm happy they're in my life and my family. as well.
Sweet. Awesome. Well, thank you again, Raymond, for being a guest. Thank you guys for tuning into the pod, and we'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.